When I was younger, I moved around a lot, so I didn't really do any schooling. The only educational stuff I had prior to halfway through first grade, which is when I joined an actual school. Our mom used to read to us a lot. Then, finally, once we settled down from moving around in northern Idaho, I went to a Waldorf school. It was a non-traditional school, and I liked it a lot because they kind of emphasized and embraced the interaction between people being part of your education. So, you could talk with friends or laugh during class, and that was just kind of part of the process. It wasn't like a lecture. Then second grade, I was at the Waldorf the first few weeks of school, but it was really expensive. It was like $4,000 a semester, and we just couldn't afford it anymore. So I switched to being homeschooled, which for second grade, we'd have specific reading stuff assigned to us. Then fourth grade rolled around. I was my first go at a traditional school. I got enrolled in Washington Elementary, which was way bigger than anything I had before. I got a lot more of a chance to just meet a lot of people. It was the first time I started to do, not bad in school, but I kind of started to clash with classroom aspects, which was because, I'd talk to friends during class, or I'd kind of get distracted, and the social aspects were kind of truly separated from the educational, because it's a lot more, everyone has to be quiet, the teacher tells you what you're doing, and that's the school day. Then sixth grade came, and we went with charter school, and then we underwent a huge move from northern Idaho to San Francisco. We got switched into Marina. The teachers were heavily varied in how much they cared about it, which was interesting. It ranged from my science teacher who would hand out a worksheet at the start of class and play Candy Crush on her phone, to Mr. Lamborn who would read fucking a whole book to everybody and be like, we have to get educated every class. He was really interested in the content he was teaching, and even though you're kind of locked into what you have to teach, he really tried to get actively engaged in it or take his own kind of spin off of what he was required to teach you by the state, which I think a lot of teachers, that can be what deadlocks them. Great, I did find English classes, stuff like that. Did shit in math. The issue was I was in algebra in 7th grade, but then in 8th grade, so I would have went into geometry at the middle school I was at. Because we moved, they didn't offer geometry, so I had to do algebra again. So I was just really bored of it. After 8th grade, we moved across the bridge out to Marin to go to TAM specifically. My mom specifically moved because it was one of the nicer school districts in the state. And the first 2 years were decent, fine enough. But my two specific issues were freshman year, got strep throat, so I wasn't able to go to finals week. But Mr. Monley just failed me for first semester, wouldn't let me retake the final. So then second semester I got a C- class because I was that's bullshit, I'm not going to this guy's class. Ridiculous. After 8th grade algebra or whatever, I did geometry, and I was also I was just bored with the class, and it was the first class in the morning, so I would just be late a lot, and I didn't do any homework, so even though I'd keep a B average on the tests, B-, I failed first semester. So I just had to I have to do geometry now on the online school senior year, but it's so not worth it to do. Junior year started out fine enough. I was actually kind of trying for the first time to do my homework, but my issue was after school, I would spend at least 8 hours after school just doing my own thing. So I got to the issue where I wouldn't do my homework until I'd start at 1 or 2 a.m. and it kind of just snowballed to not sleeping, just averaging 2 or 3 hours of sleep a night. Junior year was actually kind of nice because I got to take some courses I was interested in. I at least showed up to those 3 classes consistently, except for morning classes, which I was there 20% of the time. Brian, my lovely counselor, he only noticed, when I wasn't there for 3 weeks, he starts getting emails from my teachers, and I was like, oh, I'm going to drop out. So then he looked at my attendance, but until that point, there wasn't any awareness of it. Second semester, it started to get worse. I was fine with an amount of kind of BS, but it was the fact that I had to wake up at 7 in the morning to do the BS. So at that point, I even started to miss the classes I enjoyed. The advice that I started to get senior year, when it became pretty apparent that I was gonna drop out, was, it's follow through. You have to follow through with something, which I think that argument's even more bullshit than a lot of the worksheets we do in integrated science. Because if you're gonna follow that argument, anything that you start to do, you have to finish because it's follow through, even if it's a horrible usage of your time. So senior year, pretty quickly, I was like, okay, I'm gonna drop out of TAM. I don't want to have to go back and do hours and hours and hours of classwork and backdating tests just to get caught up so I can do that for the rest of the year. So like from September to January, I just kind of like lived.
Yeah.
My sleep got better kind of right away. I still had like 190 credits, so I only needed 30 to graduate. So I got a little roster of online classes to do. I wanted to take some AP tests, and I just wanted to do ones that I was interested in. I got to design my own study plans, I got to read about it, and it was kind of a much more engaging and interesting way to learn it. So I'm registering for College of Marin, that's where I'm gonna go next year. After that, I'm hoping on transferring to a UC or CSU. I really liked that I got to go to a ton of different schools, and I'm also just really lucky that I have resources to figure things out, because if I hadn't been able to search and look into what I'd want to do as an alternative to high school, or if I hadn't had the economic safety net, dropping out senior year probably would have meant like just starting working and maybe eventually getting high school equivalency but no diploma. So I think for me, even though there was definitely a lot of turbulence in my education and points of friction, it worked out. But I think that can be kind of a life sentence for other people. So I think there's definitely stuff within the education system that needs to get looked at and evaluated. School might be helping some people, but it's definitely standing in the way for some people, or just forcing you to think it's the only option because it really seems like that. So I think knowing about other options, both other than just traditional school, and really changing what school is, or at least reevaluating how it works for different people, is super important. If people say, school's maybe not perfect for educating you, but at least it's preparing you for life, maybe it's not.
So explain your first 3 years of TAM really quickly.
I smoked a lot of weed. When I was little, didn't go to... No, wait, okay. I could say like most vowel noises and dictionary noises, which would only take like 5 hours.
Okay.
And you can edit any words in my voice. Let me talk it out with you guys and just tell me what not to say. See, okay.
You explained 20 minutes of shit that didn't matter.
Drove in a van, did a family trip.
Stop.
Otherwise, it just would have been a lot of nervous laughing.
It is a lot of nervous laughing. Okay, so...
Ginsberg's great, specifically. It's the Tarp. That's the Tarp. Ginsberg's the better one. No, I think Tarp's better. I just like flipping them off. You see the door?
Yeah.